Welcome to the KZGN News. Today we'll bring you news on the budget from Washington, Sheriff Youngblood, more road construction, and today's KZGN Talking Points editorial.
From the Rademacher Hills to Bee Mountain and the mighty Sierras, Ridgecrest to Inyokern and China Lake, this is your news for the Indian Wells Valley with the KZGN News crew.
Hello, I'm Tom Whitnick. Thanks for joining us for the news affecting Ridgecrest and the Indian Wells Valley. Here's news how Washington politicians are coming along in passing next year's budget. Coming back from his Independence Day vacation, Congress appeared no closer Tuesday to finding a way to avoid yet another government showdown in the fall. Democrats who are angry that Republicans have proposed spending bills that hike defense while continuing to cut other domestic programs have begun to filibuster all of those appropriation measures in the Senate, saying it's the only way to make Republicans negotiate and compromise on some items sought by Democrats and President Barack Obama. Obama has also threatened to veto those bills. Asked if Congress was indeed headed for another shutdown battle and whether that was wise, the second-ranking Democrat in the House, Minority Whip Hoyer, answered that the unwise choice was for Congress to maintain the so-called sequestration spending levels it passed in 2011 when it was also unable to agree on debt and spending cuts. In a world of alternatives, it is not wise to pursue sequester numbers. That's bad for our country, Hoyer said, referring to the automatic across-the-board cuts set in the 2011 Budget Control Act, which also raised the nation's debt limit. The Republican budget calls for spending that eases sequestering on defense, but not on other areas, and the defense spending bill uses some $38 billion in overseas contingency operation funds, essentially war funding that doesn't count against sequestration, to boost the rest of the military. Republicans showed no sign of agreeing with Hoyer and other Democrats, however. Democrats must decide whether they support our troops or not, said Kevin Smith, a spokesman for House Speaker John Boehner. Focusing on the defense bill in a time of grave threats to our nation, Democrats are denying funding for our troops, their families, and the nation's veterans in order to extract more government spending on Washington bureaucracies like the IRS and the EPA. They are putting their political interests ahead of the most important priority we have, protecting our nation, and that's unconscionable. Not incidentally, if Congress is still fighting over spending bills in September, when the fiscal year ends, not only will we be facing a government shutdown, but also a looming exhaustion of the nation's current $18.1 trillion debt limit. The country hit the limit in March, and the Treasury Department has been employing what are known as extraordinary measures to keep the bills paid. That ability should run out around November, at which point the nation would be facing a default if Congress does not act to raise the debt cap. I'll be talking more about this later in today's KZGN Talking Points editorial, later in the news. With all the turmoil around sanctuary cities, we decided to find out the position of Kern County Sheriff Donnie Youngblood. He was unavailable for comment this morning, but we did get confirmation from his office about a story run on his position a couple months ago online. Kern County Sheriff Donnie Youngblood is on the record for his refusal to abandon the people of his county to satisfy the ideological needs of the President and Governor Brown. Recently, Governor Brown signed an executive order telling law enforcement in the state that they cannot work with federal immigration officers to detain illegal aliens who commit crimes, making California a sanctuary state. Youngblood said he is not a state employee and cannot be forced to disobey federal law. Governor Brown called Sheriff Youngblood and asked him what he was doing to him. That didn't sit well with Youngblood, who shot back with, "What are you doing to me?" Youngblood takes exception to the new rules Governor Brown has set down. According to the order, no illegal can be detained unless they commit a major crime. Youngblood is less than enamored with Obama's policies, too. Obama feels that an illegal immigrant that has 2 minor criminal offenses should not be deported. That makes Youngblood's blood boil. You're in this country illegally, and we're going to give you 3 bites of the apple. That's 3 victims. If you commit crimes, you ought to go. Sheriff Youngblood also refuses to sign letters necessary for illegal alien crime victims who need to apply for visas. He is also the president of the Major County Sheriff's Association, which is a national advocacy group that have asked the Immigration and Customs Enforcement to share data in order for the sheriffs to know which illegals can be detained. Youngblood, on advice from lawyers, has not refused to follow the Trust Act from Governor Brown, but he did say that if ICE called him and asked him to hold onto a dangerous illegal alien, he would do it. One interesting new statistic that came out in yesterday's news cycle is that there are over 300 sanctuary cities in the country. In news concerning the Confederate flag flying in South Carolina, the South Carolina House approved a bill removing the Confederate flag from the Capitol grounds. The move early Thursday came after more than 13 hours of passionate and contentious debate. The House easily approved the Senate bill by a two-thirds margin, 94-20. The bill now goes to Republican Governor Nikki Haley's desk. She supports the measure, which calls for the banner to come down within 24 hours of her signature. It is a new day in South Carolina, a day we can all be proud of, a day that truly brings all us together as we continue to heal as one people in one state, Haley said in a statement. Yesterday, the Ridgecrest Police Department, Kern County Fire, and Liberty Ambulance EMS Services responded to a two-vehicle traffic accident. The accident occurred at the corner of Graff and Downs. The two vehicles impacted so hard that one landed on its roof. The crash involved a Honda CR-V and an Infiniti FX35. The Infiniti was the car that landed on its roof. Both cars sustained significant damages and had to be towed from the scene. One person went to the hospital. In news from the California Highway Patrol, Mojave CHP officers responded to a report of a hit and run involving a vehicle into a residence in Tehachapi. Upon arrival, the officers determined the incident to be an intentional act. A few minutes later, an officer located a suspect matching the provided description in the driveway of a nearby residence. The suspect, later identified as 48-year-old James McKee, was uncooperative and fled the scene in a white Chevrolet pickup. The officers attempted to stop the vehicle and a pursuit ensued. The pursuit traversed numerous dirt roads and surface streets before ending State Route 58. The suspect continued to evade CHP units and traveled south on State Route 14. As the pursuit passed Pear Blossom Highway, a pit maneuver was utilized to terminate the pursuit. The suspect fled on foot but was immediately apprehended. Construction continues on China Lake Median project. If you haven't noticed yet, the China Lake Median construction project now is encompassing the China Lake and Ridgecrest Boulevard intersection. Construction started yesterday. The construction covers both North China Lake Boulevard and the first block of East Ridgecrest Boulevard. This is an area that I would strongly suggest drivers avoid at peak traffic times. With the necessary lane closures, it is bad just during the day, but will be terrible at peak-based traffic times. If you can use any other road, do so, for your own safety and the workers' safety. Also, be aware that the Ridgecrest Police will be enforcing lowered speed limits in the construction zones. And traffic violation fines are double regular violations. Hopefully this construction will go quicker than the previous sections they worked on. Stay tuned for Critter Connection and KZGN's Talking Points editorial after the break.
My name is Mary Stage with the Ridgecrest Animal Shelter, and my guest here today is Biggie. Biggie is a Shih Tzu. He's about 4 years old. He's been neutered, good with kids, other dogs and cats. He's a great little companion, loves to go on walks and spend time with people. If you are interested in Biggie or the many animals that we have at the animal shelter, you can stop by the animal shelter at 411 San Bernardino Boulevard. We're open Tuesday through Friday, 11 to 5, and Saturday, 10 to 4. You can also see all the pictures of our animals on our Facebook page, Ridgecrest Animal Shelter. So stop by the shelter, come and meet one of your new companions, hopefully, and help us find them a great loving home.
Any specials this week?
No specials this week, but you never know, day to day. If you come in, ask for Mary, and we'll see how or what kind of special she can give you.
Okay, and our phone number?
Phone number is 760-499-5190.
And Facebook site or website?
Facebook is Ridgecrest Animal Shelter.
All right, thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Now it's time for the 57th KZGN News Talking Points editorial. Here's today's topic. Who's to blame for another possible government shutdown over spending priorities? So as I reported earlier in today's regular news, it's possible we are headed to another huge debate over Washington spending priorities. The current story in summary is as follows. Congress appeared no closer last Tuesday to finding a way to avoid yet another government shutdown showdown in the fall. Democrats are angry that Republicans have proposed spending bills that hike defense while continuing to cut other domestic programs. Dems have begun to filibuster all those appropriation measures in the Senate, saying it's the only way to make Republicans negotiate and compromise on some items sought by Democrats and President Barack Obama. Obama has also threatened to veto those bills. And the real basis of the dispute goes back to the sequestration spending levels it passed in 2011, when it was also unable to agree on debt and spending cuts. In a world of alternatives, it is not wise to pursue sequester numbers. That's bad for our country, Hoyer said, referring to the automatic across-the-board cut set in the 2011 Budget Control Act, which also raised the nation's debt limit. So here we go again. When they couldn't agree in 2011, they passed a law that hits everything. Now that the law is in effect, they don't want to follow it, and as I remember, the Democrats gained the most in that particular budget agreement. The Republicans caved in then. Now with a major election coming next year, is either party ready to go down to a government shutdown over this disagreement? The sad thing is that even if Republicans were correct, the mainstream media would vilify the Repubs into submission. For some reason, it's never the Democrats' fault in the media, only the Republicans. One very important twist to the budget negotiations every year is as follows. The Dems always scream about Repubs' cuts to entitlement programs. That is, and always is, a distortion of the truth. The truth is the Repubs never propose cuts to those programs. They only propose less increases in spending to the programs. Again, let me say this again. The Repubs only try to not increase spending over last year's spending. That is not a cut in spending the Democrats cry every year. It is just less of an increase that they want. Some Dems argue that the increase in spending is to keep up with inflation. This too is false. Their proposed spending increases are almost always more than an inflation rate. So this is pure deception on the part of the Dems, and the Repubs need to do a better job getting the fact out to the people. In past debates, even the Congressional Budget Office has made the same declarations. However, the liberal mainstream media always jumps into the fray and convinces the public the Repubs are the bad guys. The Repubs are not against entitlement spending. They only want to control the rapid rate of increase in that spending. The Repubs have both houses of Congress now. They should dig in and pass legislation they feel appropriate. They should lead the PR battle by releasing a daily budget analysis. Make it real simple. Provide the public the main categories of government funding. They should provide a graph showing this year's budget and next year's proposed budget. The budget should show the executive branch, Congress, judicial, defense, Social Security, education, IRS, EPA, foreign aid, infrastructure, entitlement programs, and Homeland Security. Show us those simple numbers. All they would need is 3 simple columns of numbers. Show current approved budget numbers in the first column. In the second column, show the Repubs' proposed budget. And in the third column, show the Dems' proposed budget. They could show everyone the Democrats' proposed budget compared to the Repubs' proposed budget, compared to last year's approved budget. It's too easy for the liberal media to distort the numbers. The Repubs should show a graph like this every day during negotiations. Every morning, they should show the numbers. Point out if there are any changes. Boehner and McConnell should have this graph on their websites. Update daily during negotiations. They should pass the funding bill. Unlike when Dems controlled the Senate, and they never passed a complete budget as required by law. Harry Reid and Company never passed a complete budget, instead opting to single-line item funding in continuing resolutions. That was a disgrace. It's time for Congress to do their job, pass a budget. And then if Obama doesn't like it, let him veto the bill and shut down the government. Repubs now control both houses of Congress, and I propose the Repubs use this strategy with all new bills. They should now take the fight to Obama on their terms. They should pass legislation and send it to the White House for signature or veto. Don't succumb to veto threats. Pass the bill. Make him use his veto. Then everyone will see who is stopping the process. In conclusion, I'm sick and tired of Repubs always being blamed for a government shutdown. If there is a shutdown, it's both parties' fault. But if the Repubs make budget negotiations more open, I'm sure they can win the media battle over funding priorities. To the Repubs, I say, pass your budget and send it to Obama. I'm Tom Weddick, and that's what I think. I'd like to know what you think. If you have any comments about this editorial or would like to discuss or recommend a topic, I'd like to hear from you. Please email them to info@kzgn.net. Stay tuned for weather and sports when we come back. Thanks for staying with us. Let's go to Keith for the weather.
Thanks, Tom. Not much going on weather-related across the nation, but an interesting note from the National Weather Service. As of July 18th, 2015, 17 people have died from lightning strikes in the U.S. This is double the average number of year-to-date lightning fatalities over the past 5 years. Summer is the most dangerous season for lightning. It is never safe to be outside during a thunderstorm. Remember, when thunder roars, go indoors. Temperatures across the nation. Massachusetts came in at 68, Ohio 73, Kansas 64, New Mexico 64, Arizona 84, and Los Angeles 65. But for the IWV, we have breezy conditions, which is keeping us below the 100-degree temperature mark. For our 4-day forecast, tonight would be mostly clear with a low around 69. West-southwest wind, 10 to 15 miles per hour with gusts as high as 25. Friday will be sunny with a high near 92, southwest wind, 5 miles per hour. Friday night, mostly clear with a low around 71, south-southwest wind, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Saturday will be sunny with a high near 95, south-southeast wind, 5 miles per hour. Saturday night, mostly clear with a low around 71, west-southwest wind, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Sunday will be sunny with a high near 98, calm wind, 5 miles per hour. And Sunday night, mostly clear with a low around 72, west-southwest wind, 5 to 10 miles per hour with gusts as high as 15. Will this cooling trend continue? Check in tomorrow. Now back to Tom and the rest of your KZGN News.
Thanks, Keith. Let's go to Tom Eck for sports.
And a very pleasant Thursday afternoon to everyone. Let's start with tennis. It's Wimbledon right now, and that's a big deal amongst the tennis brethren. And even those that really aren't tennis fans get into Wimbledon this time of year. Andy Murray defeated Canada's Vasek Papasel yesterday, and Roger Federer won his match against Giles Simon. Those two guys will hook up in the semifinals tomorrow. Now, tomorrow probably means if you want to watch it live, it'll be at 4, 5, or 6 a.m. on ESPN. All right, in golf, Rory McIlroy has to pull out of the British Open. That's kind of a tough break for him. He did real well there last year. And for the women, tennis, Serena Williams defeated Maria Sharapova for the 17th straight time. I mean, Sharapova's a very good player, just can't get past Serena Williams, though. Williams will advance to the finals, and that'll be this coming Saturday. All right, LeBron James agrees to a 2-year deal in Cleveland. No surprise there. He'll be paid enough to buy a couple of different countries. And let's take a look at the scoreboard right now. And Joey's going to put up the standings for us, and you'll see the Yankees doing pretty well. They're leading Baltimore. And but that American League East, if you notice, all the teams are really within 3.5 games of each other. And now Boston, who just a few weeks ago was 9 back, they're only 5 games back, and they're in last place, so that could be anybody's division. Central, Kansas City with a 4.5 game lead over Minnesota. And out west, you knew it was going to happen. The Astro rookies, they play hard. They've lost George Springer, one of their better hitters, their leadoff guy hitting over 300. They're now only a game and a half in front of the Angels, but in reality, they're really tied because both teams, 38 losses in the loss column. Loss column you can't make up. The Angels have played 3 games less than Houston has, but they're a game and a half out, and we give Houston credit. They're a lot better than they've been, but the Angels just have too big of a payroll and too many superstars, and that's the way it is this day and age. Usually the better teams with the money are going to do well. All right, quick look at the scoreboard from yesterday. Boston won their game again. They defeated Milwaukee The Dodgers beat Philadelphia 5-0. They take 2 of 3 from the Phillies. They'll play Game 4 tonight in LA against the Phillies. The worst record in baseball. A tough time for the team from the city of brotherly love. The Angels are hot. They defeat Colorado 3-2 last night in Denver after a 2-hour rain delay. That game didn't end till after midnight, and the Angels had to get in an airplane, fly all night, go to Seattle where they'll play tonight. On the mound for the Angels will be Garrett Richards. He'll take on Felix Hernandez. Felix Hernandez 10-5 on the year. The Angels have won 8 of 9 games, 5 in a row, and as mentioned, now only a game and a half out of first place. All right, Chicago's a winner. They beat Toronto. Kansas City holds off Tampa Bay 8-7. St. Louis a 1-run winner over Chicago. The White Sox. Arizona wins again. They're now at 500. And they beat Texas, who has lost 5 games straight now. They're 3 under 500. The Astros, as mentioned, lose again to Cleveland. Cleveland wins 2 out of 3. That back in Ohio. Pittsburgh and San Diego, the Pirates win again. They are 16-6 games over 500, but they're in second place in that really good National League Central behind the Cardinals. The Yankees beat Oakland again, and New York beats San Francisco. The Giants are reeling. They've lost 8 of 9 games, and they need to get Hunter Pence back, and hopefully after the All-Star break, they will. Milwaukee beats Atlanta, and Minnesota beats Baltimore. Well, that's your scoreboard, and that's your sports for this Thursday afternoon. I'm Tom Heck for KZGN.
So that's the news for today. All of us at KZGN-TV know you have a choice in what you watch for your news. We all thank you for choosing KZGN-TV, Ridgecrest's only locally owned community TV station. Coming up next, Ridgecrest Talk.